Alright besties, welcome to part uno of our unhinged little trilogy about the Great Northern War, aka the beef that went down between Russia and Sweden in the early 1700s. So basically, Europe was out here getting a whole cartographic facelift, and these two nations were ready to throw hands over who gets to run the Baltic Cloud Club. Russia, repped by Big Pete, aka the OG skyscraper of Tsars, was like, enough is enough, and decided to challenge Sweden's dominance in the Baltic Sea, which at the time was basically the Wi-Fi router of Northern Europe. If you didn't have access, you were just buffering in life. So how did tiny Sweden manage to be the main character of the North? Why was Russia ready to drop its whole paycheck on war? And how did this petty drama spiral into one of the messiest European history arcs? Buckle up, we're diving into receipts, 17th century geopolitics, and ancient war tea. This is just the beginning. If you're new here, welcome to Kronos History, where we break down the greatest moments in history and turn them into greater stories. Whether you're bored, learning, or somewhere in between, we've got something cooked up for you to keep you entertained. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. To really understand why this whole mess popped off, we gotta backtrack to the 1600s. Northeast Europe was in full glow-up mode, and the power dynamics were shifting like a reality show reunion. Russia and the girlies weren't beefing with Sweden out of nowhere. They had a whole list of reasons. It was giving territorial thirst, econ competition, and political chaos. Sweden popped off after the 30 Years' War like a surprise album drop. They came out of nowhere, flexing on everyone with new land, like northern Germany's Pomerania and big Baltic energy. The Peace of Westphalia basically handed them the aux cord to Europe. And Sweden was now the bossy Baltic baddie, gatekeeping trade routes and meddling in other people's business like your nosy aunt on Facebook. They even told Poland and the Holy Roman Empire to just sit down. Meanwhile, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was over there getting roasted from all angles. Russia, the Ottomans, even Sweden came through with the deluge. Which sounds like a fancy cocktail, but was actually a full-on Swedish invasion where they yoinked Warsaw and half the Polish map. Russia was also getting in on the action, running its own war from 1654 to 1667 to try and snatch back some of the land it lost earlier. So everyone was fighting over who gets to sit at the cool kids table, and let me tell you, it was not cute. So now picture this. Russia got clowned hard in the Leavonian War, from 1558 to 1583. They tried to be coastal queens, but flopped and got booted out of the Baltic. That L was sealed with the Treaty of Stolbovo in 1617, which cut them off from the sea like someone changing the Netflix password. So by the time Big Pete I pulled up, he was like, I'm done being landlocked. I need boats, I need trade, I need drip from Europe, but without sea access, yeah, flop era. Something really had to change. Ivan the Terrible thought he was him when he kicked off the Leavonian War to get a piece of that Baltic pie. Spoiler alert, he was not him. Russia did alright at first, captured some spots, flexed a bit, you know how it goes. But then the whole squad, and by the whole squad we mean Sweden, Poland, Denmark, and the ghost of the Livonian Order, came in like, surprise bitch, and wiped the floor with them. By the time Russia signed the Truce of Plessa and the Treaty of Stolbovo, they were out here handing over prime coastal real estate like they were giving away concert tickets to the Nearest the Weekend concert. The Baltic Sea wasn't just a vibe, it was the Amazon prime of trade. Russia wanted in so bad. They needed it for shipping logs, furs, grain, vibes, and also to stop relying on middlemen who were just robbing them blind. Controlling the Baltic wasn't just economic, it was prestige, security, and a major flex. That's why Pete I was like, hey, we're going to war, babes, so strap in. By the late 1600s, everyone who'd been getting ghosted, humbled, or bullied by Sweden decided to squad up. They didn't form the anti-Sweden Avengers overnight. It was a slow burn alliance of salty ex-friends. Here is the ultimate roster. Russia wants the sea back, Denmark and Norway wants its ex back, and Saxony wants Livonia like it's a Black Friday sale. The mastermind behind Saxony was Augustus II, who was also moonlighting as Poland's king. Yeah, let me tell you, a man had side hustles. Then Charles XI of Sweden died, and his son, baby Charles XII, he was 15 by the way, took over. The whole neighborhood looked at that and went, oh hell yeah, this is the moment. Then started sliding into each other's DMs and forming secret treaties. Saxony and Denmark linked up in 1699, and then Russia jumped in with the Treaty of Preobrazhenskoye, and just like that, the Northern League was born. Now let's talk about the man, the myth, the walking infrastructure project, Peter the Great. This dude was all gas, no brakes. From day one, he knew Russia was lagging like a bad internet connection compared to Europe. So he launched into reform mode. Build the army, create a navy, import brains and tools from abroad. Like Russia was one big DIY project. But here's the gag. You can't be a modern empire with zero coastline. Peter saw the Baltic as Russia's glow-up gate. That's why he got his hands on literally building ships with his own giant hands and went on his grand embassy Euro tour to soak up knowledge and drip. He wasn't just talking the talk, he was sanding wood in shipyards and drawing blueprints like a boss. By the time the anti-Sweden crew has assembled, Peter was like, let's ride. His goals? Get the Baltic back, prove Russia was more than just snow and vodka, and serve global empire realness. He wasn't just being petty. This war was going to be the foundation of Russia's hot new era. So let's dive a bit deeper into what Daddy Pete actually did to Russia. So the Great Northern War was coming, and Pete was like, if I'm gonna take on Sweden, I gotta level up. First on the list, right, fixing the army. By 1699, Russia's army was an absolute joke. Just streltsy, which are musketeers, and feudal levies. Not gonna cut it in a modern war. So Peter hit the grind mode, bringing in conscription and training up a new permanent army. He recruited foreign officers, updated their weapons, and even jumped in to train with them. No royal privileges here. We're not in France. Peter was in the trenches. But Peter knew the sea was the real flex. He couldn't just be weak in the Baltic, so he went full shipbuilder mode. He set up shipyards in places like Voronezh and Arkhangelsk, learning maritime tricks in Europe and starting building a navy that could give Sweden a run for its money. Peter was all in on becoming a maritime king. Diplomacy was also key. He teamed up with Saxony under Augustus II, the King of Poland, and later Denmark, like we mentioned. They formed the Northern League, like an anti-Swedish Avengers squad, and the plan was to attack Sweden from every angle. And by 1700s, Russia was ready, with a reformed army, a budding navy, and some solid allies. The war begins in 1700. Russia, Denmark, and Saxony tried to take on Sweden and reclaim the Baltic. But the Northern League starts falling apart way too fast. Denmark's first move is a flop. They invade Holstein and Schleswig, but get wrecked at the Battle of Humlebæk in July. By the end of the month, they're like, forget it, and make peace with Sweden. Saxony tries to take Livonia and Poland, but Charles XII, Sweden's 18-year-old king, claps back hard. Saxony's army might be bigger, but Charles wipes the floor with them. By 1706, Augustus is out of the war, signing a peace treaty with Sweden. Russia's still in it though. Peter lays siege to Narva, a key fortress blocking Russia's access to the Baltic. But Charles XII isn't having any of it. With just 12,000 troops, he uses a snowstorm as his secret weapon, launching a surprise attack on Pete's 35,000 men. The Russians are caught off guard and panic. After hours of fighting, Russia is forced to retreat. Pete barely escapes with his life, and Russia loses tons of men, artillery, and equipment. After the L at Narva, Russia is left solo. Denmark and Saxony bail, and it's just Pete versus Sweden now. But Peter's not about to quit. He uses that defeat to fuel his grind. He recruits more foreign experts, improves the army's weapons, and keeps working on that navy. Sweden's still bossing the Baltic, but Peter doesn't back down. He's building up and getting ready for round 2. Russia might be down, but as we know from previous episodes and conflicts, it doesn't mean they're out yet. And that's it for this episode. The Great Northern War is just getting started, and trust me, it's only going to get wilder from here. Hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a comment if you think you would be more successful at pulling a baddie such as Sweden than Russia was. Get ready for more unhinged chaos, and see you in the next one.